Brian, stop the tape.
Okay, Mike. Oh, wait, rewind that scene, please.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind it.
Rewind that scene.
I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Brian Bonds.
Together we are Bobo Touch Rewind That Scene podcast.
Yeah.
A podcast where we go back in time to our favorite 80s and 90s films that we love, grew up on, where we dissect it and bring on crew members and actors and directors and writers of all walks of life.
It's a really special chance to hear new perspectives that you and I have never heard of, right?
It's true, yeah. It's very exciting for us because we love talking to our favorite people from the movies that shaped us.
And today we have a very special guest and about an amazing movie that really, really wanted us to just rage up against vampires.
The Lost Boys.
Yes.
We have Jamison, who's part of the Frog Brothers, the epic Frog Brothers with Corey Feldman.
Yes.
I mean, this movie, right? Like, let's talk about when we first saw this.
Oh, it's great. You know, the opening up scene is terrifying.
Yeah.
You know, these kids are just alone during the summer. And, you know, you got Jason Patrick as the older brother looking after them.
He's great.
Chasing Star.
I mean, we all also wanted to be like, you know, vampire killers after we saw this. Like,
That's true.
Yeah. Like, I love like all like the war paint, like, and they're all like when they meet when they meet him at the comic store and like.
Yeah, so good.
You just like as a kid, you want to like be these, you know, you want to be the Frog Brothers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of little funny, also like amazing moments in this movie too, like
with Max.
yeah, and the dog.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Nanook. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
I love Nanook.
There's a lot of great flying scenes.
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing that I wonder, like, how did they do the flying back then?
I know. Has anybody else ever told you you're eating maggots, Michael?
Oh,
yeah, that's
the
a
maggots. Yeah.
That's a good line.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Jameson, tell us what you got to say. Jameson, thank you so much for making time today. We're also fellow dads, of course.
That's right.
And you know,
I had that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so you know, definitely know about managing the schedule. This movie, The Lost Boys, is definitely one of those films that we grew up on. I'm sure many of the fans, either older or younger in that sort of range, really just shocked us as kids. The soundtrack, the vibes, specifically, the Frog Brothers, the dynamic that you have. I mean, this is, what kids want to be. They want to be two badass kids. So where were you, in your life when you got the script and audition, what was going through your mind when the project came across your desk,
Cool. Okay, good. I love that. Great question. Because what was going on for me was pretty different from what was going on for, Feldman and Haim and all the other guys and everything like that. It's like for me, I was, how was I lost? I think of it like that. Like we were all sort of lost. And, it's like I was a high school kid, I was like a high school kid and my mom decided that she just could tell it. So I just talked to her about it yesterday. Actually, we were having dinner, and I was
nice.
like, and I was talking about that time, and she was like, I knew you were an actor. Like I could tell you were an actor.
Oh, that's great.
Which is sweet, that she could see it like that, and it's true, So at about like 12, 13, she started just kind of looking around for an agent and this kind of thing, and I was like, sort of awkward for a little while, but at like 12, 13, I started to be like, fill out a little bit and, start to be like kind of a little good looking, I was like, oh, okay, maybe I might not be this like loser, I'm exaggerating, but like probably all
Totally.
kids go through that period of time.
Yeah,
where they're like, like whoa,
puberty.
what do I, am I cool? Am I uncool? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
And
awesome.
so like, and then, so it's like, and she got me into auditioning. And I don't know who knew that it was going to be. I mean, maybe she knew, or maybe she had a sense that it was going to go so well. But like, I got my first audition for a commercial. I just booked it. Like that was a national commercial. It was
awesome.
great. It was so cool. Like it was great for my confidence. And then I was playing on their money already. I was playing on Hollywood's money already. It's like they were all the pictures I wanted, all that stuff. That I needed. It was all paid for. I didn't have to ask my parents for that kind of money. So that's kind of where I was. And then I just auditioned after school, and then it was like, oh, now you have an audition for a feature film. Oh, cool. It happened to be the Body was Stand By Me, but became Stand By Me. It was like, that was my first feature film audition.
Yeah.
Whenever that was
Wow.
in 84 or something like that. Yeah. And then I just got an audition for Lost Boys,
Oh. So like, what was it
So
like?
cool.
Like, you know, like, yeah, like maybe like your first day on set. Like, what was it like working with Corey? You know, and like getting into it. Like, any kind of like preparations or like rehearsals. Like, how was that first initial, like your first scene? Like, tell us about like your first experience on set.
Yeah, this is all good stuff because I've been thinking about this recently, partly because I've been in Santa Cruz a couple times.
Yeah,
nice.
And thinking about those times, and it's like the first thing that I remember noting. Well, first of all, Feldman and I were tight immediately. Like because we auditioned together, and then he kind of, they were sort of asking him what his opinion on, who his brother should be in it. And he wanted me, he chose me, we had a good chemistry, And so we flew up together. We flew from LA to Santa Cruz together,
Yes.
We were immediately tight. It was great. And then all of a sudden we're hanging out in this room. He's like, "Oh, let's go see, you want to meet Corey? You want to meet Corey Haim?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go meet Corey Haim," And it was like, I loved Lucas. I mean, I was a fan of both of them to an extent, but Lucas particularly, I was like, I want to work with this kid. I just thought he was awesome. And then, so there I was, and there was Corey Haim, and, we were like, I don't know, we were just like hanging out, and all of a sudden, so that was crazy in itself, they're hanging out with Corey Haim. Corey liked to hang out with the Lost Boys, with the older kids, like, he liked to to be like one of the older kids. And so,
what
he
a crew.
Like, yeah, and so he was hanging out like with Billy Worth and Brooke, and I guess those were the main big partiers of the of that early stage. And then on set was the first scene we shot was that scene where like he goes out to get Nanook,
Oh yeah,
and it's like and it was, I'm sure they did this on purpose, that my first scene was like super chill. I didn't have a lot of dialogue, I didn't have any dialogue. It was just like, come on, Sammy, get in here, get back here.
Yeah. I love when you're holding Corey and you're like, holding scenes.
Right. Is that, you mean that was in the cave, you mean?
Yeah,
like,
there's so many great moments of you guys together.
He's all like doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, actually. I haven't thought about that in a little while, because I haven't seen Haim, obviously, in a little while, in 10 years now or whatever since he died. But it's like that moment was interesting because he was on my foot, actually. And
wow.
And we were supposed to go, like we were supposed to so like I had to go first, but he was on my foot. So he was like, "Go." And he was like, "Go." And I was like, "You're on my foot." Which of course they didn't keep, but it's a funny little bit of
That's
trivia.
great. They probably should have kept that.
I mean, I wonder.
Awesome.
There was a time where I was like, if I look closely, will I see myself saying it? But I'm sure not. They had enough takes of it,
And the comic book scene. I mean, we all love comic book scenes, but
right.
that introduction again, like we were like wanting to identify to be just like you guys. You don't even know what weapons you guys. The knowledge base is so great. The Frog Brothers. So were you into comics? And what was that scene like? Santa Cruz. As itself is just a unique place, and definitely just curious about that one.
Yeah, totally. So, first of all, I've been going up to Santa Cruz a bit lately, and I've been trying to figure out the town a little bit. Just being like, what exactly is this town? Because there's something odd about it and something magical about it. So there's that. That was the second part of the question, wasn't it? What was the first part?
Yeah. The
just
comic
the Frog
book
Brothers
scene.
Like your love for comics. Any comic love?
So here's the thing. Like, I knew nothing about comics, when I went into it, which is like, it's like that happened a lot because there was a lot of things that people were way into that I was into acting, so it was like I missed out on some things. I wasn't like crazy into comics. The thing that you're saying about it, about the Frog Brothers, it's like the champion of the comic book kid, of the kid who's, just maybe not like out to be on the team or, to be like, even popular. He doesn't care about that or whatever, who just wants to have fun and go have adventures and stuff like that. That's kind of, I think, what is one of the coolest things about being a Frog Brother, is that, that we were watching this movie here and it's about vampires and you're like, okay, cool. And the vampires and everything. And then all of a sudden we're like, whoa, this guy's got people as well. Yeah. I didn't understand any of that at the time. I mean, it's hard to, because, I mean, first of all, you see it, and that's one thing. Reading it in a script is it's hard, especially me. Totally. I wasn't a great reader, But now, over the years, to think back on it, and people feel that way about the Frog Brothers. People feel like when I meet people at conventions, and they're like, "That's what we did. We went out, we played Frog Brothers in the woods," And that's great. I love that, It's awesome.
It's amazing.
What about one thing that I'm dying to know too is the cave scene when they're all sleeping above? That scene was always like so like, oh my God, like what was like, how did you guys film that? What was like some like kind of making of stories? Like that seemed like very complicated and amazing for the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing at the time. I mean, and it was like really, really cool for me. I didn't know like what was like, it was pretty kind of cutting edge at the time. I didn't even think about it like that, but it was just like, they were like, oh, the cave, and they were like, here's the cave, it's on a soundstage, So when we went down and when we came back from location and we had like a few weeks off, or at least we did, the vampires, I think, were shooting that whole time. And then we came back and then they were like, okay, so here's the cave. And it was like, wow. And these little things you could crawl through and stuff, so there was that piece of it. And then it's like when we were in there with the vampires, there were flies because they released flies into it. They only used a little bit of it, when they're like flies, remember that whole thing? Yeah, well, they released like a drum of flies into the soundstage.
Wow.
So it's like there were flies and we were like covered. I guess at that point we weren't covered in slime, but we were about to be, like in that cave scene, And then there's the right? And,
so great.
And we didn't even know what was going to happen, And it's like he goes for Marco and he stabs Marco.
Yeah.
And then all this stuff starts squirting out. We had no idea, what it was going to be, And then I also almost fell off the scaffolding because it was slippery. I mean, when I say almost fell, I jumped off onto the scaffolding. They're like, here, and then you'll jump off and it's like this scaffolding. And then I started slipping. But my stunt guy was there. I guess they anticipated that, so my stunt guy was there.
Yeah, so I guess that's a really good layup to the next question. Are there any like fun for the diehard fans? Any like little like fun making of things that you can share, like your favorite memory
especially the tub scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the tub scene. That, like, first of all, they had these clumps of dry ice in there, to get it to
all the garlic
smoke.
And shit.
Yeah, and it's like. When the stunt double was in there, Brooke's stunt double was in there. For some reason, he was wearing shorts. Like, I don't know who told him to wear shorts, but like, and these dry ice pieces were sticking to his legs, like burning his legs.
Oh my!
I don't
God.
know, like, and he was like in the middle of the shot, he'd be like, and I was
so
just
it's
like,
really real.
Yeah, right, exactly. That maybe they did that on purpose. I mean, probably not. You can't really do that, but
yeah.
And then also. Like when Brooke grabbed me, I had a little bit of chest hair. I think I talked about this on the DVD of the 20th anniversary DVD or whatever. But Brooke grabbed me and I already had a little bit of chest hair. And so he grabbed me and I was like, So there's another little bit of natural pain. You got to see actual, yeah.
Brian and I have another fascination that we wanted to ask you. And then the sweaty sax guy, would you ever like go on a tour with him? Like chill with that guy?
I totally would. So I mean, I've hung with Tim in adult life. Because we're we go to these conventions, and now he's at a bunch of different conventions. At first it was like maybe just the actors, and then now it's branched out to and he goes on tour and stuff. So I've hung with him a bunch, and in adult life he is the coolest guy, sweetest, coolest. Been through a lot. He he was through a lot, and at the time I didn't even know that shot existed until I saw the movie. I didn't know him at the time.
So
Yeah.
I don't know why we latch on to those things. Yeah.
I know. I mean, the fact that it became such a set piece of the movie is so great. It's so brilliant. It's like out of nowhere,
Yeah. Is there anything you want to promote that you're working on that we could plug on the podcast?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a bunch of different things. So it's like I was acting a bunch after Lost Boys, and then and then there was this period of time where I was kind of acting a little bit and writing, and went off into like business writing a little bit, and I had a couple of kids, that can like change everything. And then a few years ago, like I'm kind of back at it full steam, and it's exciting because there's like a couple projects that I'd done recently that are coming out, like. Waking Nightmare is a movie I did with Diane Franklin. I don't know if you've seen it online advertised, but it's a cool horror movie. It's a cool indie horror movie. Like still, it's got you see the seams a little bit. It's indie. It's like kind of cool in that way, I think. But also they do a really good job. These directors and writers do a really good job. And Diane Franklin is like super scary in it, and it's just really cool. Also, Shelley Regner is in it. She's in it. Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
So that, and I'm also for anybody who has like access to a theater and wants to do a premiere of it, because right now it's just direct to whatever it is now, on demand. And and also it's on Bropey or some sort of weird network, because we're not supposed
Tubi.
Tubi.
Tubi's killing it.
Tubi's doing great stuff. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember it, but and then because I guess we're not supposed to talk about the the other ones that it's on some of the other streaming.
Yeah.
So because of the strike, right? So, but the thing is, we haven't had a premiere like in a theater, and I think it would kill in a theater. It would be awesome, So if anybody has that, access to a theater and wants to do a premiere, like I bet we could, get Diane and. Right.
All right.
So there's that. I'm also, I've been going up to Santa Cruz, as I was saying. I'm starting a little YouTube show, and I've only done one episode, and I keep promising more episodes, but they're coming, in the next few weeks. Yeah, of like just going up there and checking out the old locations and talking about this kind of stuff, which is why I kind of have some of this on my brain. Is I was up at the comic book store, I was up with hanging out with Joe, the comic book store owner. And we were at the old lot, what used to be the comic book store, but there was an earthquake, so they moved it, And so we see not only where it's supposed to be on the boardwalk, but where it actually was, and then where it's moved to now, all this kind of stuff. There's like little bits. So that's a really cool thing I've got going. I'll have another movie coming out called Mr. Manhattan in a few months. It's like, I think it's kind of like a Christmas movie. Not a huge, I don't have a lead, but it's a nice little part.
Nice.
And so a bunch of things like that, right? Just really trying to get it going. I also want to get a Frog Brothers show going. Feldman and I are pitching a Frog Brothers show at Warner Brothers. That we'd love to have it go. It's like there's so far it's just we're just working on getting it going. We haven't nobody's.
Oh my God, I would love that.
Nobody's bit yet. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, I hope that happens, man. That'd be so great.
The world needs that.
Yes, especially now. We need good shit. Yeah, Jamison Newlander, baby.
Amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, really making our dreams come true.
Yeah, these stories about Feldman being in the audition, picking him as his brother.
That's what you want. You want someone like Corey Feldman to be like, "That's my brother. That's the frog guy."
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Every audition should be like that.
Yeah, and I love that we got to ask him about our favorite sweaty sax man.
Oh yeah, he's got great pectorals.
Come on. Isn't there a lot of memes about this guy with the sax and the oiled up tits?
Yes, it's great. He's really amazing. Oh yeah, the fact that they were chilling with everybody like Corey Haim, but then also this whole sort of soundstage story.
Oh yeah, and he fell off that thing. Oh my God. I'm glad he's okay.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. And the bathtub scene.
Oh, yeah.
The chest hair. Yeah. That is insane, man. And you know what's even crazier? I didn't mention this to Jamison during the interview, but this movie was filmed during the same summer and beach as Killer Clowns.
Oh,
which is another episode you should listen to.
If you guys haven't listened to Killer Clowns, we spoke to Grant Kramer, and while they were filming Killer Clowns, look at him. They were also filming The Lost Boys at the same time in the same area.
Yeah.
Santa Cruz is real dog shit. So this is great that we got this intel.
I'm very excited for Jamison's future projects. I do hope a show for the Frog Brothers happens, and also that I'm glad he's taking trips up to Santa Cruz.
Yeah, reliving the childhood, 'cause that's what we do with this podcast. And thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for our other episodes. I didn't call him Baby Bon yet, but Baby Bon is here.
Yeah.
We're in, this is actually my mother's apartment.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Brian inked this.
Yeah, I painted it right before the show.
Right before, so check us out on social media at Bobo Touch.
Be safe.
We'll catch you next time.